Hello and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Beneath the Plates. This is your host, Jared Elrod. I am recording this the same day, so there's really no weight update or anything like that because I recorded yesterday's episode and then I took my dog to the groomer, took my wife to lunch, and now I'm back. So, I probably way more than I did the last episode because I had lunch, just had lunch a few minutes ago. So, with that, let's jump in. We're talking about this whole modeling thing. So I left off talking about how The Rock, and then I kind of got to Alan Richardson. So he really resonated with me when I first got here. He's really funny. I liked how open he was about certain things. And I loved Reacher, And then Fast X came out, and that movie was super cool. That movie's cool because it has my 3 favorite actors in it. Which, speaking of which, right now, still a big fan of Alan Richardson. Still a big fan of The Rock. But the last few months, and he's kind of been on again, off again, but I'm really, right now, like if I had to say I was like the number one person I was kind of modeling for success in that sense of some of those things, it's actually Jason Momoa. Now, again, been a fan of him for a long time. He wasn't, so I don't know why it was The Rock instead of him from the beginning, because basically I had this vision of what I wanted to look like. And it was basically Jason Momoa with the long hair, tattoos, the cool way he dresses, just like so much of it, right? And so it's been on and off, I say, because I'm a fan of his, and once my hair got to a certain point, people would say I look like Aquaman. So I kind of picked up the Aquaman thing, and so once again, another actor with a superhero persona. He now has 2, because we got Supergirl's going to come out this year, I think, this summer, and we got he's playing Lobo, which hopefully he's going to get his own spinoff. Would be really cool, whether it's Lobo on his own or Lobo versus Superman, something where he's like the main, the main character basically. So yeah, first, all those guys are fitness actors who play a superhero. So I clearly have a theme there. But that should have been pretty obvious when I talked about changing the podcast name to something with RPG, make it more superhero-y and fantasy-like. So it's been Jason Momoa for a very particular reason. One is out of all those guys, and this is going to sound super braggy. I'm meaning, anyway, okay, whatever. It is what it is. Physically, I think I'm the closest to Jason Momoa. I mean, he's, 6'4", maybe 6'3". I think 6'4". I'm 6'7". I know, 6'7". Yeah, get over it. We both have long hair. I joke that, all I need is the tan, right? And I was yeah, that's the only thing is, he's got darker skin. But I joke that, by the end of the summer, I'll be a lot closer because I get really dark. Whatever it is in our genetics in my family, we get real dark when we get around sun. So by the end of summer, I'm typically significantly darker. So obviously I'm not going to look, I'll get pretty close. So anyways, sorry, that was weird. It was just a little joke because, I'm looking forward to summer so much. It snowed this morning. And I typically am a fall-winter guy, and I don't really like summer, and I did last year, and I just can't wait for it this year. I just can't wait for summer. For the first time in my life, I cannot wait for summer. But yeah, with that said, so it's Jason Momoa, and it's a couple of things. Like I said, he literally looks like the vision I'd had for myself back in New York. The hair, it's literally the long hair, the tattoos, and even just some of his more eccentric look. And, I typically am a jeans and a t-shirt guy or jeans and a hoodie guy in the winter. I went through a phase where it was a lot of what I call dress jeans, dress shoes. So dress jeans being the darker jeans that are a little bit nicer. And then, a pair of black leather dress shoes and a long sleeve button-up shirt that was all throughout Virginia. And so just, he's got much more of a unique style. He's got that, bit of that dirtbag / biker / world traveler / whatever style. So he's a cool guy. But that's not so much what I've been modeling, or even the fitness, because, he's kind of let himself go a little bit right now. He's not exactly in Aquaman shape right now. So the part that I've really been modeling is his just like carefree, really good guy persona. Now, I say persona because I don't know him, so I don't know what he's like in real life. He could, I'm assuming that's how he is, and he's a good guy. Some people have claimed he's not, but most people are like, yeah, we don't believe you. He's a cool guy. So with that, I've been trying to chill out is the main thing. And I can definitely be high-strung, overly stressed. That on the Enneagram can be that 8, right? And I talked a while back on an episode, I won't go into this too much, how the 8 and the 5 were like coping mechanisms of me trying to add on an external to change to be what I thought I needed to be. But who I actually naturally was the 4-wing 3. And that's what I like. That's what I enjoy being, is like being myself, as it were. And so I've spent so many years, and I'm trying to unlearn these learned behaviors, these learned patterns, right? My wife and I were watching this show, and the one character, there was 2 girls talking, and the one said, when I say girls, they're grown women, and she's like, I'm messed up. My family messed me up, and I'm messed up. I'm crazy. And she's like, no, you're not messed up. You're not crazy. She's all, you've learned behaviors and patterns that protected you as a child that are no longer serving you. And I was like, that's literally what I'm going through right now, is I have these learned behaviors and patterns that I put on like armor, or just really, there were these other personalities, these personas is what it was. And again, if you're interested, you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Go back, I don't know which episode it is, but I got at least 1, if not 2 episodes. I think it's a 2-parter as well, where it's like a 2 or 3-parter, where I really, from the time I first remember being bullied as a child, I talk about like the 3 or 4 times in my life that I decided I wasn't good enough and I needed to be something else, and like actively worked on changing my personality, as it were, and kind of the damage that did and has caused to me. Those around me too, but most of me. So really this last few months working on undoing that. So, a year and a half ago, realizing I was bipolar, the first 6 months was basically like, this is broad strokes, but like the first, 3 to 6 months was like, what does that mean? And a lot of like reading books, talking to my wife, learning things, going back and like talking about like our past, and like classifying things. Oh, that was this was that. Oh yeah, when this happened, it was this. So that was probably the first 6 months. And then the next 6 months was a lot of trying to manage. A lot of, okay, so if I know I have these things, and it's from the bipolar, how can I manage this? How can I, when I'm manic, not make other people feel uncomfortable or stupid? How can I not, when I'm manic, have my temper build up and go off on people? How can I, when I'm depressive, not just lose a week of work because I'm just in bed playing video games? So that was about 6 months of learning that. And then, it's been about a year and a half. So I would say then the next 3 months was a little bit about identity and who am I? What is my place in this world? I know I feel like I have this calling, what I was put on earth to do, but now I'm having to reevaluate some of this with the idea that some of the things I thought I was going to do might not be possible because of the bipolar. Certain things I've struggled with my whole life are either because of the bipolar or definitely makes it harder. At what point, how much do I fight that? How much do I just accept that as a handicap, as it were? In the same way that, if you were born without legs, you wouldn't spend your entire life trying to run, right? I mean, okay, fine, you can get prosthetics and stuff, but you get my point, right? You wouldn't be I'm just going to willpower my way to running down the street with no legs. How much of that is me being that delusional? How much of this is me just thinking I'm going to willpower my way through this disorder. And so that was probably the last 3, 4, 5 months. And the last 3 months has been a little bit more about, and especially I like to break it down even in like the last month and a half. Well, in December, I kind of went through a little bit of a crisis, and I talked about that. That's pretty well documented on this podcast with my daughter leaving, and I have extensive episodes talking about that. And then, so it's basically through January, so it's about 6 weeks. I've really been peeling back. Well, what was it? Honestly, it's more like 4 or 5 weeks, more about a month, because it was somewhere in January where I did the episode where it was like quitting set me free, where I was overwhelmed. And I basically said, like, I could do this with the brand, I could do this. Which one of these things do I do? I had like 3 main ones. I could go off and I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. I'm like, this one's probably going to be the fastest success short term. This one's going to have the longer lasting success, but could take, 5 to 10 years to build up. This one here might be a good compromise because it can get some short-term success, but then also still have longevity. I was like, I don't know. What do I do? And I basically just gave up. And I said, you know what? I don't care. This is stupid. This is stressing me out. I don't want to do any of it. Like, I don't want to do any of this crap. And then I started thinking, and like a pressure was gone. I started thinking, okay, if I don't have to do any of this, and if I just assume no matter what I do, none of them are going to work out in terms of, career, income, influence, any of that, then what? If I knew they were all going to be failures based off those 3 criteria, and normally the answer would be like, well, yeah, then why would I do it? But that wasn't my answer. My answer was, well, no, I'd still do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy making the podcasts and the vlogs and the gym videos, and I like creating content. So if I knew they were all going to fail and they would never work, I would just do this kind of content. And I kind of, came up with some ideas, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I should do then. Like, if that's what I would do, even if I knew, and so it's kind of the opposite. Hey, babe.
Hi.
Where are you going to be?
Probably in the kids' room.
Okay. I'm recording a podcast, so. My wife came over to, it's a little later today. It's 12:30. Normally I'm here all by myself, or Doug's in the office. So she's working on something. So anyways, I did the opposite, where most people say, if you knew no matter what you did would work out, then what would you do? I did the opposite. If I knew none of them would work out, what would I do? And I was like, I'd still do them. I just would let go of these other things that I feel like I'm supposed to do. I do these things that I really want to do. And again, I won't go into examples because I had like a 3 or 4 part series of episodes on that. So once I figured all that out, I kind of moving forward with that. And a big part of like the Jason Momoa stuff is learning, and part of that process was learning like, okay, I a lot of this stuff is exterior. I've had these exterior personality types I worked hard to be, that I've built up. I had these exterior shoulds and obligations that I've held on to. Even here pastoring the first 3 years, 2.5 years, was, okay, well, we need to cater to this certain demographic. That sounded bad. Well, now I have to explain. There was a handful of older ladies in the church who were like, had been around for a long time. And I felt like we had to do a certain amount to honor them. And in theory, that sounds good. But realistically, what I should have done is come down and just torn down all the idols and the sacred cows, because we ended up spending about 2.5 years fighting them and them trying to sabotage everything. And then they eventually left. And then now we're going into a more fruitful ministry time. I would have just done all that right away, rather than, what I should do, and the classic of, don't rock the boat for your first year and a half. Like, I would do it all differently. And so all those external things, I've been working on peeling those away. And so the reason, Jason Momoa has become like a model for me is his kind of carefree, kind of kind, also breaking some stereotypes because, he's manly, but then he's soft and sensitive. He's, action star, but then he's also like into conservation, and so just all those different kind of things, and that kind of that softer side that I feel resonates with more of who I am, even though most people who know me wouldn't say that. They'd be like, no, he's driven, he's focused, he's kind of scary sometimes, it can be hard to talk to. And that's like, couldn't be further from the truth, but that's what I've become from years of working on. And that is what is for years has caused me to spin out, go into hypermanic, go into deep depressions, to burn out and have issue and issue after issue and self-sabotage and all these issues. So really peeling that back. And I talked about like a personality profile we did back in high school, and I had gotten this color green and I rejected it. I didn't like it and I tried to be something else. But this idea of like going back to green, basically peeling all these other things off of what I would think I'd want to be in and going back to that green personality type is how I picture it in my mind. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you, I know. But if you listen to that episode, it makes a tiny bit more sense. So with that is why he's been the model, is being that more kind of carefree, loose, fun-loving, happy, good guy who's easy to talk to, who can walk in a room and light up the room for everyone. Now, I'm not an extrovert. I'm assuming he is. But being able to have, more back to that natural state of who I am. So that's why I've been modeling him right now. Just because he represents that goal. So it was The Rock, because I was trying to lose a bunch of weight and gain a bunch of muscle. Then it was Alan, because I was really trying to hone that in and be a little more outgoing and be able to get out from some of those confines of certain things. And then now even further with Jason, honing that in of a certain, I don't know, I guess I go with like, for me, it's a lot about like feelings or energy, right? So it's that certain feeling that when I think about him in his movies, that it kind of channels that certain feeling for me, which reminds me to go towards. So like on a Sunday, if I'm stressed out because, this isn't working out, this person's late, this isn't set up yet, that we don't have this, instead of getting all high strung and worked up, I can kind of calm down and be like, no, but none of that stuff's the point. The point is the people. And even if all that stuff fails, the people are gathering and I be around the people. And then I lead the people in to the presence of God. And right. And so like, that's the point, not the production. And again, it comes back down to, and it's really been different P words, dropping different P words for the one P word, which is presence. So dropping the production, dropping the plans, right? All that stuff, and focusing on presence. I slapped the windowsill. That's what that noise was. And so that's really what it's been. And being able to just chill out and be like, yeah, be able to just be around people, be able to, be in his presence, be able to lead people into his presence. I feel like I'm starting to ramble a little bit, so I'm going to wrap this episode up. But yeah, that is kind of an update on that and kind of the focus, and even really looking at, now that I'm an endorsed chaplain, and I was like, well, I'm kind of not using it. How can I use that more? How can I be more of a, not just a pastor to the church, but a chaplain to the community, and get out there in the community, get more involved in the community, and reach more people. In fact, the way I said it to someone in the parking lot on Sunday is, our church is really good at attracting people to the building who are interested in that. We're not so good at going out into the community and introducing people to the Lord who aren't interested in the stereotypical church culture thing. So you get a lot of people who are looking for church. They end up here typically because they'll try other churches. It's not quite what they're looking for, or they'll ask around. They're like, yeah, I kept hearing about your church. But how do we reach those who are not looking, who are looking for an answer, and Jesus is that answer, but aren't looking for that church solution? And so that is that's the goal. And that's kind of what I'm working on, is being that person who can just kind of go out there, be amongst the people, and, represent the Lord that way. So with that, I'm going to sign off. So here you go. Here's part 2 of this 2-part thing on modeling, much more specific this time. I love you guys. Have a blessed day. I'll see you in the next episode.